What's up guys, my name is Josh, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about this new deck that I've been playing. It's a 2.9 cycle deck and it has the Spear Goblins, the Log, the Goblin Barrel, the Tornado, the Bandit, the Dark Prince, the Goblin Gang, and then to finish it off with the bait style is the Princess. And of course it has, you know, Goblin Barrel, Spear Goblins, Goblin Gang, 3 different cards that need to be logged, so obviously it's a bait deck. And then throw in the Bandit and the Dark Prince because they're so strong right now, or at least the Dark Prince is. Bandit's strong, but obviously she's much more, you can deal with her a lot easier because she doesn't have that splash charge damage, so you can just surround her with guards, you can kite her with an Ice Golem, you know, Goblins, Spear Goblins, Goblin Gang, so many different cards to counter her with, but she's still super strong, and that's why she works in this deck, and obviously she has that charge damage, along with the Princess, she has that dash damage along with the Princess charge damage, so you've got 2 cards that dash and charge, and then of course you've got the 3 cards that will be doing your most damage for you, being the Goblin Barrel, the Goblin Gang, and the Spear Goblins, and then obviously Princess, Tornado for defensive plays. And you know, it's just like any other bait deck really. You know, for me it's my favourite bait deck right now in the meta, just because it offers so much value on both defense and offense. Obviously, a lot more traditionally in bait decks we're used to seeing a defensive structure, as whether that be the Tesla or the Inferno Tower. Some people I've seen use Cannon. Doesn't really work for me. I feel like you have to have something in the deck to take out air. Obviously we only have Princess and the Spear Goblins for air in this deck, but surprisingly it works, because if you get the Princess down, you know, get Tornado, you use the Tornado effectively, use the Spear Goblins effectively, and then of course you can use the Goblin Gang as well to use the Spear Goblins from there. So you have 3 different ways that you can attack air. So, and you'd think that because they're so squishy, you know, it'd be super bad to poison, but as long as you space your troops out, you know, don't put all your troops in that one little circle so that they can poison. Put your Spear Goblins near the bridge, put your Princess behind the King Tower, put your Goblin Gang in the middle, and then there's no way that the opponent will be able to get all 3 in the poison. So just make sure you space out your troops basically when you're defending. And then as far as offense goes, I would say your main pushes will be like Spear Goblins, Goblin Gang. You know, as long as you know that they've used the log already, you can pretty much go in with any card. You know, if you haven't seen the log yet, or if you haven't seen the Tornado, be wary of where you place your Goblin Barrel, because you don't want them to Tornado it to the King Tower in the first minute, because it's going to make the game so much harder for you. So you always want to, or at least what I do when I play the deck, if I have a Goblin Barrel in my starting hand, I'll always play it on the corner tile of the Princess Tower, because in that way they can't Tornado it to the King Tower unless they're super good with Tornado, because there is one spot that you can Tornado every Goblin Barrel, but not a lot of people know where it is, so don't even worry about it too much. As long as you place it in the corner of the Princess Tower for your first barrel, so make sure that they don't have the Tornado, and then if they use it and they mess up, then you know that you have to be careful with your barrels. So it's just a little tip, because it saves you from, like, if you just throw a barrel on the tower and you don't know what they have and then they Tornado it, you've got to play the rest of the game with the King Tower activated. And when you've got cards like Goblin Barrel, cards like Graveyard, all these kind of cards and the Miner directly on the tower, you don't want the King Tower up, because it's going to, you know, every time you launch an attack, they're going to have that King Tower to support on defense, which is going to be a lot tougher for you to get your, you know, your damage dealing push off in a sense. And so yeah, I would say Spear Goblins, Goblin Gang, Spear Goblins, Goblin Barrel, sorry, would be a push. Bandit, Goblin Barrel's a push, because they have to really, you know, deal with both cards. Dark Prince, Goblin Gang, sorry, Goblin Barrel. So many goblins in the deck, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Dark Prince, Goblin Barrel is one of the main pushes. So is Bandit, Goblin Barrel, so is Spear Goblins, Goblin Barrel. Anything with Goblin Barrel, essentially. You can go Princess, Goblin Barrel, as long as you know that they don't have a log. But yeah, pretty much any card within this deck you can push with. You know, even if they just use their log and you don't have a barrel in sight, just throw a Goblin Gang down the lane, throw some Spear Goblins down the lane, get that chip damage, and you know, you'll see if they want to, you know, touch the card. You know, if you throw some Spear Goblins down the lane, a lot of people usually will leave it untouched, and if you keep doing it, they have to answer it, because they can't afford to take the damage. So just always constantly, I would say, put Spear Goblins on the tower if you've got nothing else to do. Always be playing Princesses in behind the tower. I don't like them being played aggressively at the front, unless you need that last bit of final damage, like the last shot of the game or the last 2 shots of the game. Whack a Princess on the bridge, see what happens. But I don't recommend starting out like that because, you know, like I say, it's one of your main cards that will deal with like minion hordes and air troops and air and swarm troops or anything like that. Bats, goblin gangs, skeleton armies. If you use her as your first card, you won't really have anything else to deal with those cards. I mean, you had tornado, I guess, for the minion horde, but it won't kill the minion horde. And the princess 2-shots the minion horde. So just be careful with your plays. I would say a key with this deck is to be aggressive, of course, because it's 2.9, and your main goal is to get the barrel to the tower, you know, for that chip damage. But don't be too aggressive. And I know that's kind of like an oxymoron, be aggressive but don't be too aggressive. What I mean is, of course, be aggressive because it's a bait deck, but be wary of what your opponent's playing. If you know that they're playing a golem deck, go insanely aggressive. If you see them play a golem, go opposite lane, go bandit goblin barrel, you know, and tricky barrel, and because, you know, they've just played 8 elixir, so they've only got 2 or 3 elixir to play around with. So if they've got the log, I would say as soon as you see a golem, go in the opposite lane, go bandit, goblin barrel, or dark prince goblin barrel, or any card that you kind of have, spear goblins goblin barrel, any card that can immediately rush and chip that other tower. Because if you leave a bandit and a goblin barrel on a tower, I'm pretty sure it takes the tower. So for 5 elixir or 6 elixir, sorry, it has to be answered. And if you throw a tricky barrel and then they miss the log, that's that tower gone. And then you can then dedicate the rest of your elixir to defending that golem. Obviously use your princess, use your tornado in the back. You're going to have to be... And the thing about cheap decks as well, like 2.9 decks, it makes you become a better player at the game because you have to constantly think about your cycle. You have to think about what the opponent's playing. Think about how much elixir they have, how much elixir you have. Not that you don't have to do that anyway when you're playing Clash Royale, but these decks really force you to think about it, in my opinion. You know, fortunately for me, I've been playing cycle decks since pretty much day one. It's been my, like, you know, classic log bait of Inferno Tower, 3.3 elixir cost. That was my deck right there. That was the deck that got me to 19 wins 4 times. I don't want to talk about it. It's pretty much been the deck I've played best with. So you can kind of say that my best deck or my best style of play is bait cycle decks. So this one's really, really nice. And it hasn't got a defensive building in it like we've talked about, of course. And it doesn't have the rocket in, so you've got to be a bit more aggressive in how you play because you can't rely on that rocket for the last 500 damage. If there's 200 damage on a tower, the only thing you can really use is the log for the chip damage. But you have to get your barrels on. You have to get a bandit hit. You have to get a dark prince hit. You have to be able to try to do something without the rocket in the deck. Because obviously a lot of people play bait and they play it with rocket tornado 3.0. So it's obviously it's only 0.1 more expensive than this deck, and it has a rocket in it. So obviously with cards like bandit and dark prince, you don't really see them in bait decks or traditional bait decks. And when the Valkyrie got a buff, we saw her. She took the 9th place in the bait deck, and then all these kind of crazy, you know, decks started spawning from the Valkyrie bait deck. We had Zappy's bait deck, which was actually super fun. It had poison in it. Don't really like poison in bait decks though. I think like your main goal is to just get the tower down. I don't think it's like that's a whole nother video to talk about. But I just don't think poison has a place in bait decks. For me personally, it has to be rocket. Has to be, you know, a big spell to be able to take the tower in the last few seconds, or if you've got like you've got like 500 damage left and there's 10 seconds to go, you can just throw a rocket log and you know the game's done. But if you don't have rocket and this deck doesn't have it, this is the only weakness of the deck in my opinion, because you can't rocket people's pumps. You can't, you know, there's no miner. You can't. It's going to be super tough for you to be able to counter pumps. You have to use your goblin barrel essentially. And if you're playing 3 musketeers, it can really, really be a challenge, because not only do you not have a defensive building for the battle ram, and then you only have the tornado for the minion horde and then of course you have the princess as well. But you have nothing for the 3 musketeers. You have nothing for the pump, so it can become really tricky. And I would say that's probably its hardest matchup is 3 musketeers, because obviously it doesn't have that big spell. But for what the meta is right now, and we don't actually see that many pumps, this is a super, super good deck, because like I said, we don't see many pumps. It's good against beatdown, like golem beatdown, giant beatdown, because of the tornado and the versatility of the defense in the deck. And I would say, yeah, definitely give it a try. Let me know what you guys think about the deck in the comments down below. Let me know how you would improve it. If you would put a big spell in, maybe perhaps take the Dark Prince out, put a big spell in, or put a defensive building in. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Leave the video a thumbs up as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.